This episode is about the dash pods on Valyrian steel. Corona, what's up? So the reason that we need dash pods for these art cars is our frames are completely exposed and there is no cavities in between body panels, the firewall, that kind of stuff, in which to put the gauges that you need to run a vehicle. So in order to compensate for that, we have what we call dash pods, and yeah, it just allows us to use conventional gauges in the same manner that you would in any other car. And the difference between the dash pods and the places where you would put the gauges in a normal car is that, of course, we have to make it artistic. Our original dash pods were very similar to the ones you see on the vehicle right now, except for they were plastic. I designed them in CAD and we printed them up, and they looked great and they worked great, and it was quite a satisfactory solution until one year at Burning Man it was extremely hot and they warped. You know, it was like 112 degrees out, and the dash pods were black. And so I'd imagine it was like 140 or something like that on the actual pod, because the ambient temperature in there is 112. So they distorted, and with the new machinery I had acquired, I was going to machine them out of billet aluminum rather than the relatively budget plastic 3D printed. It ended up being a very gratifying machining process because the entire system was stiff. The fixturing was stiff, the material was stiff, and the tooling was stiff. By that I mean we were working with a 6" by 6" by like 20" piece of billet aluminum, therefore that thing wasn't going to flex. For the outer contour of the outer 3D contour of it, I was using a 1.5" diameter ball end mill, which is really big compared to the normal tooling that I use for machining smaller parts. And I didn't realize it before doing this particular project that one of the reasons that some of the finish quality wasn't that great on the other parts was either the tooling was flexing, either the tools like the end mills, or the material, the raw material that I was machining out of, which is like 3/4 inch plate, inch plate. It seems like it would be quite stiff, and it is, because humans can't. You know, we're not strong enough to bend it, but when you're talking about the forces in machining, yeah, they're going to flex, and there's going to be chatter, and it's going to affect your finish quality. But when everything's perfectly rigid, man, it's nice because it's you don't have the chatter, therefore you don't have the vibration, therefore you don't have the noise, and it's just this nice smooth process. And when it's a nice smooth process like that, your end result also ends up being much better than when your tools and your materials are chattering away. Then you're in a, that's self-explanatory. So, and the end result is the same as those plastic dash pods, except for it's just a much higher quality piece of fabrication, and it just feels a lot nicer, it looks nicer, it's much more durable. It's just all around better. The only drawback to it is that it's far more time intensive to do that, and it's also much more expensive just to buy the material. But in the case of these art cars, we don't really care that much about how much time we spend, or it's the most important thing is to end up with a quality end result. That about does it for these dash pods. As always, no animals were harmed in the making of this video. However, some humans may have received permanent brain damage. Remember the #1 rule: do not chang it up. Thank you in advance for your cooperation.